Scene 52, shot A, take one.
Hi, I'm Wesley Cochran, a film actor, and I played Captain Terror in the epic Spaceship Terror.
Open that door, you bitch!
I first met the director, writer, producer extraordinaire, Harry Chinsky, probably around 2005 when he had an open casting call for another film that he was putting together called Quadrant 42, about a planet that was ruled by, in essence, dominatrix, if you say that.
Stupid plan.
It's too bad that didn't get completed or moved along further along. But it wasn't too long afterwards, maybe within a year, that Harry sent me the script for Spaceship Terror, and he said, "Look, this is going to get made." I read the script. I was fascinated by it. It was definitely more violent than something I had done before. But what I liked about it is, even though it was clearly if you want to say a B movie, a B horror slasher film, what I was intrigued with about it is that it seemed to be kind of female empowering, because even though you have this mad, deranged killer that's not to give any spoilers, but some of his guests on Spaceship Terror do meet their demise. But these were not your typical, airhead, oh, let's go into the haunted house and see what happens in there, and knowing full well that the girls that go into the haunted house end up not making it. Here you had basically a crew of another spaceship, mostly female, and they were all professional.
Take control! Is he okay? Oh my gosh!
So when they found themselves in the midst of Captain Terror and the diabolical things that he was going to end up doing to a number of them, they weren't going to give up without a fight.
Okay. We've got to do something. We are gonna get out of here. We need pipes, hammers, knives, anything we can find.
Yeah, I had not obviously been in something like this before. Again, the previous project that Harry was working on, it wasn't really wasn't a slasher horror type film, but I was been interested in the genre. I enjoy horror movies. I thought it would be a fun adventure, and it definitely turned out to be that. For most, I think for most actors, the opportunity to do something different, do something that you haven't done before, is exciting, scary, and challenging. But that's what makes it the fun part. One of the things you learn as as an actor when you're preparing for a role and preparing your character is first you read the script. He clearly enjoyed the pain that he inflicted, what type of sexual gratification he got out of it. Even though he had, gone, he was insane, mad, he pleasured in the game that he played with the ladies on the ship. I know one thing that I did do is I watched all of the Saw films that were out at the time, available at the time that we filmed Spaceship Terror. The action is on folks that are you're in the middle of the scene. In this case, everything that's going on the spaceship, but you're not really seeing the I guess let's just call it the puppet master, the gentleman that's kind of controlling what's happening to his victims out there. The director, Harry, he had some ideas about, the type of guy that Captain Terror is. He gave me some, I think, some good direction. But he kind of formulated outlines for me, and then, which is good for an actor, kind of allowed me to go with my gut instinct on how I would play a scene. Particularly, as the filming progressed, there would be things that a lot of action that was added wasn't in the original script. Harry would take me aside and say, "Hey, we're thinking about how would you feel about doing this?" And there were times I'd have to think about it a bit. Typically I would discover that the suggestion had come from one of the ladies themselves. When Harry invited us out to the set for the first time, it was for our first read-through, and get there and get greeted by Harry and some other folks some of the other actual actresses that were there, at meeting them for the first time. And then we go inside, and I have to tell you, I was blown away, actually, on what him and his crew had accomplished. They had built inside this, metal out in this outbuilding, a set of the spaceship. So you would, and then there's space around how this was all the corridors and everything were all, were built, and it was kind of it was a maze. And I'll tell you, it's kind of the little kid in me kind of came out and was thinking, wow, this would have been the coolest thing to have as a kid, to play spacemen and space travelers. So when I saw all that, I thought, this just might work. Set itself, became our home for many months. Some scenes were shot during the winter and when there was snow outside, so try to stay warm and pretend it was hot in there when it was maybe freezing outside. The biggest challenge, I think, was after a full day of shooting, when we were in most cases drenched with with the fake blood, which was colored Caro syrup. The biggest challenge was trying to get all of that, off at the end of the day or the end of the night, sometimes in the early wee hours of the morning. So we just pretty much had a ritual where we'd be hosing each other off the best we could, and knowing it wasn't all going to come off. And it was always interesting, the next, say, Monday morning, I'm, in my office job, in my office, and, I'm, oh, what's this? And I'm, pulling off a little bit of bloody latex still that's, on my ear or something like that, which was kind of fun. Harry was, the director. At times it was a thrill. At other times you just would want to wring his neck. But I'd have to remember that when I came onto set, when I was reviewing the script, when I was reviewing the lines that we were going to work on that day, when I was listening to his direction, this was all Harry. This everything about this film came from his mind, and so kind of freaky to think that I, in a way, I was entering into his world, into his mind. I don't know if there were some dark places there, but I had the privilege of being able to explore, I guess, some of those dark places that Harry had created. Harry was, the director. He was, the director of photography. All rolled into one. Of course, Wendy, his wife and the producer. She was right there. She would give some input sometimes too, and I'd be disingenuous if I didn't say that sometimes there were some heated discussions among all of us about how a scene was going to be shot. Ultimately, Harry's the director. Ultimately, he was the one to make the call on it. Typically, be a lot of discussion on hand placement, the camera angle, our special effects folks. By the way, I have to give a shout out to both Mr. Hudson and Marcel Banks, who were our special, as far as the makeup special effects folks. they were in there, with us just constantly, and they were, which I appreciate. They were perfectionists. When it's all said and done, how is this thing going to end up looking? And I'll tell you, the first time that I saw the end product, I was blown away. All of the work and the hassle and the frustration, not to mention the good times, looking back on it, it was worth it. So the film got made. Yahoo! And the first time I saw it, and it was sold out. So it was a packed theater. And I remember when the film started and the opening credits began, and the way the camera was panning on on what Captain Terror was up to. You see a skull boiling in a pot of, I think it was a pot of blood or something like that, and that's when there's a sound of an alert, and that's where his radar system is picked up on the distressed spacecraft that's carrying the crew that ends up becoming guests on Spaceship Terror. I was, I guess blown away isn't the right word, but I was more than pleasantly surprised by the quality of the picture itself. I was kind of watching the audience, and you'd kind of pick up on some of the comments and so forth, and darn it, there was some good stuff. A plot, the special effects that Harry had incorporated into it, and so I found myself just getting into it just from the standpoint of enjoying the story itself, and trying to get out, trying not to get into my head what was going on, behind the scenes while the action is taking place. The reception for the film was actually pretty good. In fact, it was so good. The film won an award. The most kick-ass, I believe, was the name of the official award. The most kick-ass film, and that was pretty exciting. To all the actors, to all the cast and crew, it was a great time, and I'm so glad to see that the film is out there again, and that more folks will have the opportunity to see it. So if you haven't seen Spaceship Terror, go see it.